Welcome, Pewter Report readers, viewers, and listeners, to a brand new edition of the Pewter Report podcast, energized by Celsius, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. This is a Pewter post-game show. Appreciate everybody tuning in late night at 11:51 on a Monday night, as we unfortunately have to recap a loss for the Buccaneers. They fell in overtime to the Chiefs by a score of 30-24, the second overtime game this season for the Bucs, where their offense did not get to hold the football at all, as the defense allowed a touchdown on the opening drive. So it was a hard-fought game, but that's another loss in that column for the Bucs, as they've now lost 3 in a row. We're going to break it all down and look a little ahead as well in this one. I'm your host, Matt Matera. Joined with me is my fellow co-host and the face that runs the place at PewterReport.com, SR, Scott Reynolds. Scott, it was close, but no cigar, and not too many moral victories to come from this one for the Bucs.
No, there's no such thing as moral victories. You're an NFC South champion, and if you want to get back to winning the NFC South, guess what? You better win some games. The Bucs have now lost 3 games in a row, and I tell you, Matt, this is kind of troubling, because this is the second time we've seen Todd Bowles' defense out there in overtime lose the game. And at some point in time, he has got to stop trusting his defense. And see, that's the inherent problem. He's the defensive coordinator. He thinks the next stop is coming right around the corner.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, should have gone for 2 and win that game. But, you're on the road without your top 3 wide receivers. You actually tie the game. And in my opinion, that's where you make your stand. You cannot afford to give Patrick Mahomes the ball back. And they did. And they paid for it. And so I thought it was a bit of a coward call. I don't think Todd Bowles is a coward, but I think that was a coward call. I think it was a safe call that proved to be deadly. Safe in Todd Bowles' mind, but deadly in everybody else's. They're thinking, what are you doing? You're giving the ball back to Patrick Mahomes. And I thought they would lose it in regulation at the end, right? With the 3 timeouts and around 30 seconds left. I thought they were going to lose it right there on a field goal. So, he dodged a bullet there. And, you can't – the coin toss is chance. It's luck, right? But you're putting your defense in a situation where they weren't stopping the run at the end of the game. You still have Patrick Mahomes. You did knock him out, right? The ankle injury didn't prove to be fatal.
Yeah.
You got Travis Kelce on the field. You have DeAndre Hopkins. I'm just saying, you can't do that, man. It is so much easier to walk in and say, we put the game in our $100 million player's hands on the 2-point conversion. And it was pass fail. Pass, you win, game over, you beat the Chiefs. Your season is looking hell of a lot better, hell of a lot different. And you just had a signature win on the road at Arrowhead on Monday Night Football. And instead, you took the ball out of your $100 million guy's hands and you put it in your defense's hands. And guess what? 4 of the last 5 games, this defense has surrendered 30 points.
Yeah.
Every time they do, they lose.
Yeah, we were talking about that at the tail end, right before the Chiefs scored, where if they do score, which they did, that it would be another 30-point game allowed by the defense of Tampa Bay. And momentum is a hell of a thing, and it's a legitimate thing. And can you imagine if they did go for 2, got it, and ended up winning that game? I mean, you want to talk about incredible momentum going into one more game before the bye, knowing you just knocked off the defending back-to-back Super Bowl champions, and also stopped their undefeated season.
And at worst, you'd be 5-5 heading into the bye. At worst, you'd be 500.
No, yeah, no doubt about it. And also, when the Bucs tied it up, they looked good at the goal line. And the first play didn't work to Otten, but it was the right idea. I think, and Ryan Miller was wide open on that touchdown. Yeah. I think if you go for 2, you run that play action right again, because the Chiefs were biting all over the play action. I know it was just 2 plays. And then you have the chance of Baker. I had it in my head, they go for 2. Baker ends up running it in. He just gets over the goal line. He screams, goes crazy. It would have been an awesome moment. And if you lose, it's still it doesn't feel good either way. But I think the mind frame of like we had him, we had our chance, and we just missed it. Versus, well, we gave them an extra possession and they in overtime. And that's the other thing that's kind of driving me crazy is what Bowles has done to compound his issues has been sounding even worse with the explanation of things in the post-game press conference. To say he didn't go for 2 because we felt we needed to get to overtime and the field was slippery. Like,
No.
did you go 5 yards down the field? Did the rain all of a sudden change?
Right.
Did a biblical flood happen within scoring the touchdown and then going for 2 or deciding whether or not to go for 2? No. Yeah. So to say that, it was slippery and all of a sudden you couldn't go for 2 made no sense at all. Oh, we want to play for overtime. Yes, because every single team in the NFL says, you know what? We want to give Patrick Mahomes one more opportunity.
That's right.
We want to play longer with the Chiefs instead of just getting it done right then and there. So his explanation made no sense. If he just said, we were on the fence about it and we thought it was better to, kick the field goal.
Yeah.
Like, just be honest with us. Don't say, we felt we needed to play for overtime. Nobody has ever said that against Patrick Mahomes or the Kansas City Chiefs or a team that's just won the last 2 Super Bowls. Like, come on with that statement.
Yeah. So here's an interesting comment here from Timothy where Jason Light is screwing us over, not making moves. Jason Light's not going to make any moves. I've been trying to tell you now for about a week or so. He's letting this thing play out. You know why? Because, first of all, who are you going to trade for? What are you going to give up? And is any player addition going to fix bad coaching? Is any player addition going to fix bad game management? The answer is no. You let this ride out. You let this play out. Okay. This is about building a Super Bowl champion team. It doesn't have to necessarily be this year. Might be next year. Might be the year after that. But you let this thing play out, right? Todd Bowles is sealing his fate right now. He's either going to turn this thing around like he did last year and save his job again, or he's not going to be able to this year. And do you, Pewter people, have confidence that Todd Bowles is the guy that's going to take this team to the Super Bowl, making some of these decisions? Do you believe that? Do you believe that? There's a reason why some of these moves aren't being made. Okay. My opinion.
Wink, wink.
My opinion.
I will say, and I'm not defending Todd Bowles by any means, but the head coach he went up against today, Andy Reid.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, for a very long time with the Eagles, had his time management issues, was bad with timeouts. It was, can he win the big one? But the difference there is Andy Reid was at least getting to the NFC Championship game every time and then losing the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Bowles, we're talking about, would consistently win double-digit seasons and win the divisions.
Well, he also lost the Super Bowl too with Patrick Mahomes or with Donovan McNabb. Sorry.
Yeah. The problem for Bowles is, yes, he's won the division the last 2 times, but at 8-9 and 9-8, it's not a huge stamp of approval of like, he's getting the job done. So the thought this year was going to be 10 wins, and at this point, that seems a little out of reach. Also, you can kiss the division goodbye because now they're 3 games behind Atlanta. They'd have to gain 4 games on Atlanta because they don't have the tiebreaker. So the division is not really in the realm of possibility.
Atlanta has to collapse right now.
Yeah, they have like an all-time epic collapse. The last thing I want to say about Bowles, and this goes into deciding whether or not to go for it. The 2-point conversion, of course, I think a lot of us are in agreement. It should have went for it. There was a couple of drives before that. The Bucs had 4th and 1, 4th and 2, right around midfield, and they decided to punt it. Gave the ball back to the Chiefs. This is when it was tied.
Yeah.
The Chiefs had a 4th and 1 right around the same spot on the field. They went for it. They got the first down and eventually took the lead on a touchdown. Bowles didn't go for it. Andy Reid went for it. And I think that played a factor into the game as well. So a lot of the same issues that we've had with Bowles for several years now, once again, reared its ugly head.
Again, I'm trying to connect some dots for y'all here. Okay. And I don't know. I haven't talked to anybody in the front office or ownership, but 3-1 start last year, 3-1
Yeah.
start this year. Slipping to 4-7 last year, probably on the way to 4-6 this year. Christian McCaffrey's going to be coming back against San Francisco. They've had a whole week off to prepare. Kyle Shanahan versus Todd Bowles. We know how that has worked out the last 2 times. So, let it ride out. See what happens.
And there were times the defense looked, I don't even want to say good, but better than what we've seen, over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah.
Like Vita Vea had 2 sacks. Kalijah Cansey finally got some pressure. There were not many times, and Patrick Mahomes made some great plays, and he's Patrick Mahomes. He's going to do that. But there were a lot of times Mahomes seemed uncomfortable in the pocket and really had to move around.
Yes.
And I think the Bucs did a good job. There weren't too many times where it was like, oh my God, he has all day to throw.
Right.
No, it was him moving around and ducking and diving and dipping and dodging and diving and ducking and everything, and dodging once again. And then, so for the defense to, step it up a little bit with pressures to get a turnover, which, we talked about winning the turnover battle, and it ultimately still didn't make a difference, I think is so
I think what we talked
frustrating
about,
as well.
they'd almost have to be +2, right, to win. And we said Baker would have to play clean, which he did. They'd have to be at least +1, if not +2, to win this. And they just couldn't get that other takeaway. They came close a couple times, and it just didn't happen. I think one of the biggest things Kansas City decided to do was run the ball in the second half, Matt, because the Buccaneers were getting some pressure on Patrick Mahomes, who was sacked 3 times in the first half, 1 time in the second half. Why was he only sacked 1 time in the second half? Because they were running the ball, right? They got that Tampa Bay defensive front tired out because they had to stop the run rather than rush the passer. Kansas City ran the ball 12 times for 28 yards in the first half. They finished the game running the ball for a total of 124 yards. So about 100 yards rushing in the second half alone, including overtime. And trust me, there's nothing that will neutralize a pass rush faster than driving defensive linemen off the ball and wearing them down and wearing them out. And that's why there wasn't much of a pass rush. And that's why, to me, again, you've got to read the room. You've got to look at this and say, our defense didn't stop them on the touchdown drive, right? The last Kansas City touchdown drive. And now they're running the ball. But I think the arrogance, and I'm not saying this like in a derogatory way. I'm saying this like like as an explanation. The arrogance of a defensive coordinator / head coach is, well, my defense is going to get a stop next time. We're going to stop them on this drive. We're going to punt the ball, and then we're going to play defense. We're going to stop them, and then we're going to stop them in overtime. That's just the mentality. Yeah. And it's the wrong mentality when your defense has given up 30 points per game or more in 4 out of the last 5. By the way, all 4 of those have been losses, including 3 in a row. Granted, it took to overtime to get to 30 points in this one, and 36 points in the game against the Falcons in overtime. But Matt, listen, you look at the third downs, right? The Kansas City Chiefs on third down. Yeah, that was the stat of the game. 12 of 18 on third downs. That was completing 66.7% on third down. And on 5 of those 12, which is almost half, right? They were 3rd and 6 and longer, right? So not even like 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2. Yeah. 3rd and 6 and longer. So listen, man, Liam Cohen, 24 points on the board again with scraps to work with, right? I mean, he's not making lemonade out of lemons. He's making lemonade out of like old rotten lemons, Yeah. And still making it taste good. So I don't know what to say, man. This is, I don't know.
It wasn't just 24 points. It was 24 points against the Chiefs defense, which is highly regarded as one of the best defenses in the league, and on the road at Arrowhead. So, the stats don't exactly look very pretty. I mean, Bucky Irving led the team in rushing yards with 24. He had 7 rushes for 24 yards, but the Bucs still ended up with 95 yards. Receiving, Cade Otton, once again, proving all the doubters wrong. Another great game. 8 catches for 77 yards. Sterling Shepard really stepped up on that last drive to tie the game up. Trey Palmer, again, nothing really until the end with 2 catches for 33 yards, but coming up in a big-time moment. Everybody really played a role in the offense sticking together. I mean, that last drive, the guts of that team to drive all the way down and tie the game up, they deserve a lot of credit. Rashad White scored a touchdown. Bucky had a nice kick return. Rakim Jarrett only had 1 catch, but even that play was pretty cool where he caught it, bounced off the tackler, and then went up the field. So, yeah, they are really making the most of their situation with the depleted injuries. We finally got to see 3 running backs on the field at the same time. Sean Tucker got used a little bit more. So, like, 24 points, given how this offense was supposed to be like the weakness of this team without Mike Evans and Chris Godwin.
Yeah.
It's still the strength of this team, which is very, very scary. Baker got lucky with 1 interception that didn't happen, but outside of that, I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah.
The Bucs also got screwed over once again on a phantom face mask penalty for Tristan Wirfs. I mean, if the defense can clean up their act just a little bit, the Bucs can be competitive in really every single game. The offense is a big part of it.
Yeah, Tampa Bay just, they were 5 of 11 on 3rd downs against Steve Spagnuolo's defense. Nothing to be ashamed about. That's about 46% completion percentage. They gained 284 yards, right? I mean, that's tough sledding against a top 5 defense, scoring defense, top 5 defense, total defense. But you look at the time of possession. The defense, Tampa Bay's defense, could not get off the field. And granted, the Chiefs had the ball for 5 minutes and 52 seconds of overtime. Okay, fine. You take that 5 minutes off. They still had a 10-minute time of possession advantage before the overtime, and then a 15-minute time of possession advantage, including the overtime period. And that's just not enough. And did the defense play better? Yeah, they didn't give up 24 points in the first half like they did last week, right? But at the same time, they gave up 3 touchdown passes to Patrick Mahomes, no interception. So the last 3 times they faced a quarterback, it's been 5 touchdowns, no picks with Lamar Jackson, 4 touchdowns, no picks with Kirk Cousins, 3 touchdowns, no picks with Patrick Mahomes. You hope that you can hold Brock Purdy to 2 touchdowns, right? If you're counting down here until the bye week. But I don't know. I just don't see this defense getting much better. Josh Hayes had a really rough night. And, Zion McCollum erased Xavier Worthy. And I had some people text me during the game, why don't you just put Zion, on D-Hop? It's not that easy because Xavier Worthy runs a 4.29. Zion McCollum runs a 4.31. Xavier Worthy had no catches, right? None in the game. And the one time he was open, who did he burn? Josh Hayes. Right? So,
and they got lucky he wasn't in bounds, but yes.
Exactly. So, fine. If you want to match coverage and say, Zion, you go against old man D-Hop, right? Then he probably shuts down D-Hop. And Xavier Worthy probably goes nuts against Josh Hayes, who has a 4.4 speed, not a 4.3 speed, and certainly not a 4.29 speed or whatever Worthy has, 4.21, whatever it is. You know what I'm saying? It's just, you're damned if you do, damned if you don't. Travis Kelce went off. They didn't have 2
14
corners
for
tonight.
100. Yeah.
Didn't, they just don't have, enough good players to match up some of these upper echelon receivers and tight ends. And, Jamel Dean got hurt. Surprise, surprise. Bryce Hall got injured. Should they bring another corner? That's debatable,
Right, because what corner is going to completely change this defense? I don't know if there necessarily is one. It would certainly be an upgrade about what's going on, and teams every single week are going to exploit the advantage of whether it's Funderburg or whether it's Josh Hayes moving forward. They're going to exploit that advantage, and even though Travis Kelce, his yards per reception weren't off the charts, it was only 7.1.
Yeah.
Anytime they needed a big completion or a first down, it was the short little 3 or 4 yard pass to Kelce or whoever it was. Justin Watson had an impact on this game.
Right.
That's where the Bucs, we've seen it all year long. They get beat that way, one way or another. And it's once again kind of the same story. Written a little bit different this time around, but ultimately the same story. for the
Agreed.
Buccaneers. Let's start getting into these super chats. You all have been fantastic rocking with us.
Thank you.
As we are now on Tuesday, November 5th. We're past midnight. Thank you to Bart Harley Jarvis with this $5 super chat. Had to go for it there. Nonsense. Wasted a heroic effort by the players. Winfield gets paid a lot. Needs to catch that. Keep Liam Cohen at all costs. Yeah, the Winfield thing was crazy because he almost had the interception at the end of the game with a tip pass by KJ Britt of all people. And then the next play, Winfield came close to picking it off. The Bucs would have been at midfield, would have had a timeout left, I believe. Who's to say what would happen if they would have been able to set it up? But hey, you at least give yourself that opportunity.
Right. Yeah, and Winfield's just not making the plays he was last year, and then that's just a
the
fact.
Deep ball to D-Hop was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah,
right
in between Hayes and Winfield, right in between them.
Yeah, great play by D-Hop, but I couldn't help but think, especially on the slow-mo replay, you see Winfield looking up at the ball. It's like he didn't even know that Hopkins was there.
Yeah.
Thanks to Bucs Basement for this $10 super chat. The offense did their job. Todd No Balls Bowles once again cost the Bucs a football game. When do we hold the head coach accountable? Enough of his chicken, game management, mediocre head coach.
He's writing his own story. Again, they're letting this play out, folks. You got to read the writing on the wall here. Like what's happening and what's not happening. And why is whatever's not happening. Okay. And, front office has eyes, ownership has eyes, just like Matt, just like me, just like you. And we'll see how it plays out. Okay. This team's not going to the Super Bowl this year. They never were. They never were. Okay.
At this point, they're not going to the playoffs.
And they might not go to the playoffs. And if they don't, there's going to be a new head coach. Okay. It's that simple. They don't make the playoffs. There's going to be a new head coach. Okay. So
I guess part of the question is does Jason feel comfortable enough with his own job security to not worry about not bringing in people?
Yeah, I think if I were him, I would feel comfortable and secure with that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying optically, someone might be like, "Oh, well, if he's trying to sabotage the situation."
There's no sabotage here. There's no sabotage whatsoever. He's the general manager. His job is not to coach or make. The only thing he can do is make trades right now. That's it. And why would you want to make a trade right now when a trade is
just setting your team further back by not having a draft pick?
Exactly. Because a trade is not going to help you with game management. It's not going to help you with poor coaching. It's just not.
Yeah. Thank you to Trustin Vorbeck with this $1.99 super chat. Says, I heard Vrabel still needs a job. Got to go for 2. I don't want to start the whole who could be the next head coach speculation sometime soon, but I'm sure across the league, Vrabel, I'm sure Vrabel is a hot name for many teams across the league. But thank you, Trustin, nonetheless, for the super chat. Appreciate DSG Carlos with the $4.99 super chat. If I'm Bowles, I'm doing everything possible to fix this defense because the offense is performing without Mike and Chris. Shout out to Liam Cohen. Yeah, I think that's a great point. I mean, you look at this team and be like, he's doing his job. What about you? And I mean, the fact that Liam Cohen's doing all this severely shorthanded with not having his top guys, and the Bucs, sure, they're missing some guys, and you didn't have Cansey for the beginning of the year, you didn't have Winfield, and yet one side is getting it done, the other side, which is supposed to be the superstar side, is not, and that's really telling and damning, kind of of Todd Bowles.
It sure is.
Them Apples 55. Thank you for the $1.99 super chat. Says, why do they tease us with Sean Tucker?
Yeah, I mean it stinks, right? Because I'm a big Sean Tucker fan. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rachaad White has not won NFC Offensive Player of the Week award, and neither has Bucky Irving, not yet. And I don't know why he's not getting more touches. I know the pass protection element is scary because he is the third best pass protector out of the running backs. And I think you even saw Bucky Irving got plowed over on a Baker Mayfield sack. And then you saw Bucky on the sidelines and Rachaad White in there. And that's one thing Rachaad White does exceptionally well. Mm-hmm. He's a bigger back at about 220 pounds. He is a very good pass protector. And so that necessitates a lot of it. But man, if the Buccaneers could actually get a lead and hang on to it, you would see more Sean Tucker because they'd be running the ball. You run to win. And one of these days, hopefully they'll make that happen. But it's not going to happen when the defense is giving up 30 points per game.
Yeah, it's tough, too, when you're playing from behind or playing where you absolutely need a score and can't run it as much. Thank you to the John Gruden, very famous Spider 2Y Banana with the $1.99 super chat. We appreciate it. We have a lot of super chats to get to. So if you have another one with a comment, we're happy to get to. But thank you very much. Quinn Dietering, thanks for the $5 super chat, says Baker and the offense did everything they needed today. Props to them. Liam is a genius. He is our next coach.
I mean, maybe. We've kind of seen it before, right? Like Dirk Cousins. Oh, sorry, Dirk Cousins. Gosh.
Cutter.
Sorry, it's late, folks. Dirk Cutter.
It is,
Dirk Cutter replaces Lovie Smith. That happened. Not saying it's going to happen. Who knows what's going to happen? I mean, my God, man, there's 8 games left in this season plus a bye week. So I don't know, but I mean, that's not a far-fetched situation.
He's quickly become a fan favorite. And you mentioned that it's late. One thing that's helped keeping us up, of course, is Celsius Energy Drinks, the official energy drink of PewterReport.com. Check out all the great flavors that Celsius has to offer. My personal favorite is the Arctic Vibe. I also am a huge fan of the strawberry lemonade. They also have a watermelon lemonade that you can go and get now. A kiwi strawberry is another one. I'm trying to think what else. The sparkling orange, one of my favorites too. Tropical Vibe is also fantastic. So if you need to know where to go and find a Celsius energy drink, head on over to the Celsius store locator on their website. Punch in your address. I'm going to tell you the closest place to pick one up. Could be a Walmart, Target, Health and Fitness store, 7-Eleven, the Stop and Shop, or your bodega.
Bodega.
And after you keep going to your bodega and you know you love Celsius and you want more, you can buy it in bulk with the variety pack. Well, I recommend getting the variety pack over on Amazon with the subscribe and save. Have it sent to your place of residence whenever you want. You're in charge. Just make sure you're drinking Celsius energy drinks, the official energy drinks of PewterReport.com. Let's keep these super chats rolling in. Where was my place? John Mark Petty, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. As John Mark Petty says, 24 points with these receivers against Kansas City is unreal by Baker and Cohen. Bowles needs to realize we do not have a defensive identity anymore. Yeah, it kind of goes back to what we've talked about before about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. It was kind of the same thing on the defensive side. I mean, DeAndre Hopkins just fully took advantage going up against Josh Hayes. Travis Kelce seemed like any time they wanted to throw to him, they really could. Yeah, the defense doesn't have an identity. They don't get interceptions. They force some fumbles. Is mostly Tyke Smith, who is turning into Peanut Tillman with the way that he knocks the ball loose.
Yeah, he's really good.
So I don't know. There's a lot of questions. There's not immediate answers. We did see the Bucs start playing a couple of different inside linebackers. J.J. Russ got a couple of snaps.
We did.
Russell Vi Jones got a couple of snaps. So maybe that's like the first step. And then all of a sudden, K.J. Britt gets a pass breakup later in that game. So maybe that was some more fuel for him. But yeah, I don't know. There's a lot of questions that don't have answers at the moment.
I agree.
Christopher Oxentine, thanks for the $5 super chat, says, once they didn't go for 2, it was over, and so did all the Buccaneers around me there at Arrowhead. I mean, there was the chance that they could have won the coin toss, but I felt once the Chiefs had the ball in overtime that the game was done. Yeah. Also, a big thing in the second half was, yes, the Chiefs' ability to run the football, but they just dominated on first down. When you're allowing 5-6 yards on first down every single time, it makes it that much tougher for the Bucs defense. So, yeah, they just had they didn't even have the momentum. I mean, like the Bucs tied it up late. Yeah. But once they could just run it at will, it loosened everything up for them.
Yeah, I mean, Andy Reid, credit him. Great coaching. He outcoached Todd Bowles, especially in the second half, right? Oh, you're getting pressured. Oh, my gosh, my guy, Mahomes is sacked 3 times. We're just going to run the ball. We're going to wear you out, wear you down, get a running game going, be balanced on offense. Oh, by the way, if it starts raining again, which it did, all right, we'll ground and pound you. And that's what they did. They ran for 100 yards after halftime and added that element to Kansas City's offense, which was struggling at times. Todd Bowles, for whatever reason, cannot buy a sack from his edge rushers, but he gets them in bunches from his defensive tackles.
His interior.
2 for Vita Vea tonight, 2 for Kalijah Cansey. Vita Vea now has 5 sacks to lead the team. Cansey now has 3 sacks. That's tied with Logan Hall, another defensive tackle. CJ Brewer right behind with 2. I want to say they've got, 12 out of the 21 sacks. No, 13 out of the 21 sacks have come from the defensive tackle position. That's crazy because typically it's the edge rushers. Think JPP, think Shaq back in their prime, doing the damage off the edge. And I thought Joe Tryanchenko played pretty good today. I thought it was a very spirited effort by him. The results didn't always match the effort. I thought Yaya Diaby was great against the run and not good against the pass. I think his pass rush is really lagging right now. I'm with you, Matt. I'm off the Yaya Diaby bandwagon when it comes to his pass rush. I like him as a player. He was very good against the run tonight. And again, how about Vita Vea? 10 tackles tonight. That's a new career high. 10 tackles. Winfield led the team with 12. Then you had Tyke Smith with 9. On the defense, KJ Britt had 9. Diaby had 5 tackles up front. Kalijah Cansey had 2 tackles, but also 3 quarterback hits and 2 sacks. And both of those tackles were tackles for loss. So, better showing by the defense, kind of like you said, Matt. Right. Different start to the story, but same ending, unfortunately.
There were a couple of great individual efforts on defense with Vita, Tyke Smith, for example, Kalijah Cansey as well. But the individual performances did not add up to the whole group balling out. And I know he's been highlighted. Sly had a story about him. Chris Braswell, I'd like to see a little bit more. He had some pressures going up after Mahomes. So
I agree.
I'm definitely for seeing him a little bit more. Thank you to Nicola Legistina with the $1.99 super chat. Says, my opinion, we played fairly good. Refs really hurt us.
Didn't help, that's for sure. You're not going to get favorable calls at Arrowhead on Monday Night Football against Patrick Mahomes. You're just not. I don't think it was egregious. I mean, the Tristan Wirfs call was probably the worst, but I don't think that it was like so lopsided where Kansas City got every single favor from the referees.
Yeah, it wasn't out of control. You got to remember early in the game, the Bucs got bailed out on a holding call on the Chiefs' defense. The face mask was egregious with Tristan Wirfs, but overall, the Bucs didn't lose because of the refereeing today.
Yeah.
Aiden, thanks for the $4.99.
Yeah, I'm gonna
not gonna put it up. I got you.
I mean, Aiden, listen, we appreciate the support. We really do. We appreciate the super chat. I'll read the second part of it, which is we have a coach. His name is Liam, and the refs once again bail out the Chiefs. The name calling, though, let's not do that. We can talk about coaches' decisions. We can talk about their ineptitude and stuff, but let's try to keep it as clean as possible. Todd Bowles, say what you want about him. He's an honorable, good man.
Yeah, that's true.
He is. So let's just be above board with that.
Yeah, true. Thank you for the super chat. We'll move on to Shaggy. Thanks for the $5 super chat. Says Liam called a hell of a game. Absolutely cannot let him go. Yeah, I mean, again, we're not going to speak about like whether or not Bowles gets fired or replaced, but I think with other teams around the league, Liam Cohen may become a head coaching candidate based on what he's doing with Tampa Bay's offense, especially the more that they score without Mike and Chris. I mean, that's a great thing to put on a resume.
Yeah, Liam Cohen's not going anywhere. He's not. He's just telling you he's not. I've seen this movie before. When the Buccaneers they thought they were going to lose Raheem Morris. They thought Raheem was going to be the next Mike Tomlin. He got an interview from Denver, and they fired John Gruden, and they promoted Raheem Morris. Okay, the Glazers are not going to let Liam Cohen go. They have eyes. They see. They've watched a lot of football. They've watched 29 years of Buccaneer football, just like me.
Yeah,
both walked in the door in 1995. They're not going to let him go.
Spider 2Y Banana, thank you for this $4.99 super chat. We appreciate it. Says, I know the players love Bowles, but he just doesn't seem like he has what it takes to win it all. If Cohen keeps it up, he will get sniped for a head coaching job.
Yeah, I mean,
Well, we answered the second part of that.
Or he could stay here and be the head coach. I mean, that might be a scenario. I don't make that decision. That's the Glacier's call. That's ultimately Jason Light's call if they keep him. I've seen it before. I've seen it play out. I mentioned the Raheem Morris thing. It also happened with Dirk Cutter. They wanted the continuity with Jameis. They fired Lovie Smith. Raheem Morris was a very popular coach. The players love Raheem Morris, but it's a results-oriented business.
It is.
Process is great, but results matter more. And so you got to get wins. Wins keep you employed. Losses get you fired. It's that simple in the NFL.
Yeah, and he's had plenty of breaks. The next thing I'm worried about for Bowles is, remember last year he was like, oh, this isn't going to snowball, and then it totally snowballed.
Yeah.
Today, when he was like, don't get used to this feeling, like it's not going to happen too often. Well, I don't know. I mean, if they lose to San Fran and if they lose to, one of the games against the Giants or the Panthers, who, by the way, defeated the Saints.
That's right.
Yesterday.
Yeah.
I feel bad for Todd in that sense.
All right. Here's one thing.
Here's
one thing. I'm not saying this is not going to be one of my predictions, my two bold predictions section for tomorrow's 2-point conversion. But we saw Dennis Allen get fired. Now, granted, it was after 7 straight losses, right? But you lose to the Panthers and you get fired. That's kind of been established precedent.
The bar.
Yeah. The Blazers have never fired anybody before in season. They've always waited till the end of the season. They watched Raheem Morris free fall from a 4-1 start all the way down to he didn't win another game. They finished 4-12. So they've been on that free fall ride. They'd let it ride out. Man, can you imagine the uproar if the Buccaneers go to Carolina and lose to Dave Canales and the Panthers?
Especially in like a shootout game where like the offense is great, and then Canal scores 35.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I don't want that to happen. But man, you talk about apocalypse. Holy crap.
Yeah, that would be rough.
Wow.
That'd be a tough one to overcome for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Thanks to A-Train for this $4.99 super chat. Says, ask John Harbaugh or Dan Campbell what they would have done on the road against the undefeated Super Bowl champs in the rain.
Got to go for 2, man. Got to go for 2. Got to believe in my guys. Gonna win the game.
Yeah, you knew what Dan Campbell would do. Yeah, over and over again. So Bucs had their chance. They didn't go for the win.
Yep.
They wanted to play for overtime for whatever reason. Michael with the $4.99 super chat. Thank you. Says, let's not kid ourselves. Going for 2, though, the most likely outcome with Bowles calling a timeout was the defense giving up a game-winning field goal. So, I think if you're referring to the Bucs did tie it up, but they called a timeout with 30 seconds. I actually thought it was interesting that they called the timeout right then and there. I know they had to move up the field, but I'm thinking you still do have that one timeout. You let the clock tick down. You only need a yard, so it's either going to be incomplete or you score. Why not let 15 more seconds?
I know.
Go down. It ultimately did not matter,
right?
Because they stopped them. But yes, that did enter my mind as that whole thing was unfolding.
No doubt.
Bucs Basement, thank you for the $2 super chat. Says Bowles retire to avoid firing. Promote Cohen as the head coach.
This is early. They're 4-5 now. But if you want to go there, I'll take you there. I could see that happening. Todd Bowles will be 61 in a week or 2 later this month.
The 18th. So 18th, a couple weeks.
Yeah. So in about 2 weeks. So he said that he's not going to coach as long as Bruce. And
right.
Sometimes that's just how it is. That was kind of the thing with Sam Weish. Sam Weish did get fired, but he ultimately retired.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean that might be the thing. Again, the Glazers are not going to let Liam Cohen leave. So y'all can worry about it all you want, but I'm telling you right now, I've been around this team long enough. I've been around ownership long enough, and I've seen it happen a couple of times. They don't let what they believe the good, promising coaches leave, and that's that.
It's true. Thanks to T for this 9.99 super chat. Says hypothetically, if Cohen becomes head coach next year, who would you pick as defensive coordinator? Dennis Allen, Robert Saleh, or let Cohen pick one of his defensive connections from the Rams or Kentucky?
I mean, Robert Saleh is interesting because he's seen Saleh's defense firsthand playing in the NFC
Yeah.
West with the Rams going up against the 49ers when Saleh was the defensive coordinator there. So there's that familiarity. I'm sure that might play a role. Mike Vrabel. I mean, I would consider him as well.
Yeah.
That's one guy that I would take a look at. Is Vrabel? Is he a DC somewhere right now?
So he's
Is he
with the Browns, but he's not a coordinator.
Right,
He's
he's
like
like an assistant,
like a
like
quality control type of guy.
like
So
senior assistant or something like that.
yeah. So if
Yeah.
Vrabel wanted to rise the ranks again, I
Yeah.
think that would be like a fantastic option.
Yeah.
And it lets Vrabel stay in the NFL if there's not a head coaching job that is available. Salah's interesting. There is the connection, but again, Salah's style of defense, I don't know if that works for the Bucs right now because he's all about getting pressure with your guys up front.
Yep.
And as we've seen, the Bucs aren't doing that. So I don't know if that's the right move. So I would go with choice number 3 of connections to the Rams or Kentucky.
Yeah, maybe. It's gonna be interesting to see how this whole thing plays out. I mean, it's going to be very interesting next couple of months here in Tampa Bay.
Yeah, for sure. Logan Valente, thank you for the 9.99 super chat. Says not letting the clock run after the last touchdown, then not going for 2 tells me Todd somehow trusts his defense that couldn't get off the field all night. Todd just isn't head coach material. He's holding us back. Yeah, I mean, there's something to be said about being confident in your group and letting them settle it. But at some point, you also have to be real about what's going on. And he's not being real about what's happening.
Bingo, you nailed it. You got to read the room, and he's not reading the room. The defense is
now they're 9 games in. They're 9 games in. This isn't like an aberration or something that's only happened once or twice.
Yep.
It's all the time.
Yep.
Thanks to Bucs Basement for the $2 super chat. They fired Dungy for far less. Bowles needs to go. I mean, you're not wrong about, Tony Dungy was consistently going to the playoff, at least once he got it rocking and rolling with that Bucs team. Consistently we're winning. That's not the case with the Bucs. Thank you, Timothy Fitzgerald, $2 super chat. Y'all think Baker seemed annoyed with McMillan post game?
Yes, and he's not the only one. I'll tell you that right now. He is not the only one annoyed with Jalen McMillan. There's a lot of people annoyed with Jalen McMillan right now. Yes.
Interesting.
Absolutely.
Jason Wadier, thank you for the 9.99 super chat. Says at this point, what is the % chance that Liam Cohen is our head coach next year? You super chat us. So we gotta.
I know. Man, you think this is like a January podcast or something, or like late December? I mean, this is November 5th, people. I think there is a 0% chance Liam Cohen is leaving Tampa Bay. I'll just say that. So,
all right. Well,
that's my answer.
There's your answer for that. Andy, thanks for the $4.99 super chat. We really appreciate that. Thanks to Trey Cloutier with the $1.99 super chat. Says Sean Tucker with 3 carries once again is criminal.
Yeah, I mean it stinks. I think the part of that though is the defense not having the ability to get off the ball. I mean, when you give up 70% on third downs and you give the Chiefs an entire 15-minute quarter worth of time of possession advantage. I mean, I'm looking at the carries here. Bucky Irving had 7, right?
Yeah.
There were 2 end arounds to Shepard, which, one worked for 19 yards. Mayfield had 4 scrambles, but those were really pass plays. So Rachaad White had 3 carries. Sean Tucker had 3 carries. So it wasn't like Sean got slighted in this. I mean, Bucky got the most. He had 7. You could make the argument Rachaad got slighted a little bit in this instance, being from Kansas City. The problem is you take out the 4 Baker Mayfield scrambles because really one of those was a designated run, but it got callbacks. So it didn't really count. Right. So it was really scrambles, and all that. So you're really looking at 15 rushes in this game. And that's not a bad game plan because Kansas City's run defense is incredibly stout. So I kind of get it. You're not wrong, Trey, but at the same time, it wasn't like we saw Bucky have 12 carries and Rachaad have 9, and then Sean had 3, right? It's a much tighter grouping, 7, 3, and 3, right? So,
Yeah, I mean, you'd like to see Sean Tucker have more, but the game didn't dictate that.
Yeah.
And we're seeing like kind of how this group is being built, where Rashad White's more of the receiving guy because
Right.
he's a great pass blocker,
Yep.
and Bucky is your main runner when you're going with the rushing attack.
Yeah.
That's just how it is at the moment, and that's not really changing unless someone gets hurt or
Yeah.
whatever the case may be. Thanks to Zach Jarvis for this $4.99 super chat. Says, can we fire Todd Bowles? Us fans are over it. He's an awful head coach, was never successful in New York. Now the same being bad in Tampa. Get him out. Yeah, his most amount of wins still came with the Jets. His first year there, he went 10-6, but has not reached that as a head coach in Tampa Bay yet.
He's not reaching 10 wins this year, I don't think. I think Josh Capo still is a believer. I'm not. I don't see it. There's going to be a game or two where they stub their toe and they lose where they shouldn't. I think the Chargers game is going to be really tough to win. That's going to be a loss.
Yeah.
49ers is going to be a loss. So then you've got to win every other game. You got to win 6 out of the next 8 games, and I just don't see that happening with the way the defense is playing. They can't stop anybody.
Right. It's winnable, but when your defense is allowing 30 points, then anybody.
Todd Bowles will get himself fired, or he'll save his job. It's that simple. It's one thing or the other, and we probably have an idea of which way it's heading. I don't want to make any definitive statements because my God, man, he rose from the dead last year at 4-7 last year, right? I mean, you got to let this play out and see what happens. But if you want him gone, I mean, they're trending that way. We'll see what happens.
It's almost like, like sometimes you'll take like an Advil or something and it says like a 30-minute release or whatever. Like you got to wait for that to kick in. It's like Bowles all of a sudden turns into a good coach after they go 4-7.
Right.
And like that's when he picks it back up. I don't know why.
And you know what? You know what? That might not be enough this year, right? Because what you said is true. Man.
Yeah.
They might not get them to the playoffs. They're certainly not going to win the division the way they're going, right?
Yeah.
So the Glazers want progress. They've not defined what progress means. We at the Pewter Report staff believe that to mean 10-win regular season and a playoff berth. Doesn't necessarily have to mean winning the division, but it means you got to get to the playoffs. Probably should win a playoff game, but get the 10 wins. Show some progress. Go from 8 wins to 9, 9 wins to 10. One playoff win, you can't go backwards and lose your playoff game. You can't be 1-3 in the playoffs and expect to keep your job. Tony Dungy was fired for less. So,
and they got a lot of teams they're competing with now for those 3 wild card spots.
Yes.
So, thanks to Aiden for the $1.99 super chat. Who would be the defensive coordinator? We kind of already addressed that. Maybe Robert Saleh, maybe Dennis Allen, maybe someone that Cohen worked with, if that was the case where he was head coach. Somebody worked with the Rams or Kentucky. So we'll have plenty of shows to talk about that if it becomes the case. Thank you to DSG Carlos for the $1.99 super chat. Says, SR for head coach? Illuminati confirmed?
Oh, boy. The conspiracy theories here. No, not for head coach. At this point, I'm retired as a defensive coordinator, so I won't take that job. Defensive line, I would consider. They're not going to hire me. Outside linebacker job, pass rush coach. I would throw my hat in the ring for that. Yeah, why not?
There you go. We'll have a story on pewterreport.com about it.
Yeah.
Thank you to Christopher Oxentine for this $5 super chat. What did McMillan do to annoy people? Did I miss something?
Well, his hamstring flared up a little bit, and he decided he couldn't play tonight. And, Baker Mayfield said something, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, so please forgive me if I mangle this, but something to the effect, and Matt, you heard it too, I think, correct me if I'm wrong. He said, we need to be professional and take care of our bodies, but it was like a disappointment. He was talking about that. So, maybe that's not getting treatment for the hamstring, not getting it like over the hump, not stretching properly, whatever. Those are the details. I don't know. I just know the general feeling is, you're a professional. You're not in college anymore. This is people's jobs and paychecks and livelihoods on the line. People's careers are on the line. They're counting on you to play. Sterling Shepard has a hamstring injury. He left the game last week, missed practice, and still played hard and went out there and did the damn thing.
Played well on that last drive of the fourth quarter.
Played well in the last drive. Mike Evans played so well, he blew his hamstring out, almost catching his second touchdown against the Ravens. you got to put your body on the line for your teammates, and I think that's not happening right now, and it's pissing some people off.
And let's remember,
part of the maturation process for young players sometimes.
Yeah, and let's remember, like, he had an injury history at Washington. That's probably a little bit of why he dropped, to when the Bucs drafted him, and he missed some time this year. They need guys to step up. You kind of hope it's the younger guys too, because you still have your whole career ahead of you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it is what it is, as they say. Bucs Basement, thanks for the $5 super chat, says, stop coddling the pointless division titles when the NFC South sucked. The mountaintop can't be reached if you're consistently causing avalanches.
It's quite the statement. I like that.
Yeah, I like the imagery there.
No kidding.
So,
well,
great comment.
It is a great comment, Matt. You're looking at an 8-win division championship Buccaneer team and a 9-win division championship team, and a team that under Tom Brady, you won. It took till week 17 to win the division against the Panthers, and it took week 18 to win the division against the Panthers last year to get the 9 wins. So, yeah, I mean, they still count. There's still banners over there at One Buck Place, but it's not like the Buccaneers were world beaters in any of those seasons by any means. They barely won the division in both years, and they're not going to win it this year. Atlanta has got a clear lead. They've got 2 wins ahead of Tampa Bay, plus the tiebreaker right now. So even if the Buccaneers caught them, and let's say the Buccaneers won out and the Falcons lost 2, and they're even, the Falcons still have the tiebreaker. So the Buccaneers at this point would have to win 3 more games more than the Falcons to win the NFC South, and I just don't see that happening right now with this defense.
The 8-9 and 9-8 division titles do not hit the same as the 13-win franchise record division title that the Bucs had in 2021. But at this point, that was many moons ago. So. Thanks to Jonas Gorea for $1.99 super chat, says 9-8, 10-7 every year. Beat bad teams isn't enough. Yeah, I mean, when they went 8-9, that was just lucky that you won the division. You're not going to the playoffs in any other situation. And then 9-8, not that much better. An upgrade, but not that much better. So
it's interesting, Matt, because you look at and Pewter people for you too. You look at the NFC South division, right? And last year, the Panthers fired their coach. Falcons fired their coach. Saints have already fired their coach. Within a 2-year span, the entire NFC South could be looking at 4 new head coaches within 2 years. Yeah. If Todd Bowles continues to lose and it ends up costing him his job. Tonight was not a fun night the way it ended. It was a very entertaining game, though, a very competitive game. I give the Buccaneers a lot of props for fighting, and Liam Cohen for making lemonade taste good, even though the lemons were kind of rotten. But the cool thing is, tomorrow is a brand new day, and it's Tuesday. There's not going to be a Victory Tuesday, but there is going to be Tuesday all-day happy hour at Walk-Ons.
What an amazing comeback, Coach.
You're not kidding. I mean, we did lose the game badly, but coming to walk-ons afterward, the team got a much-needed win off the field.
Walk-ons for the win.
That's right. All-day happy hour tomorrow. So get out there and vote, and then head to happy hour, which is all day at Walk-Ons, including $5 Tito's. You can get Walk-Ons one of 3 places around the Tampa Bay area. My neck of the woods, Wesley Chapel, up here across from the outlet malls down there by the stadium, and where Matt Matera lives. You'll see him at the Midtown Tampa location from time to time. And then also in Lakeland, visit walkons.com for more. And if you miss the happy hour all day tomorrow, well, you can catch it on Wednesday and Thursday, 3 p.m. to 6 and 9 p.m. to close. Fantastic inflation-busting food and drink specials, TVs galore. Walk-Ons, your place to go for football, food, and fun.
We have one more super chat to get to. So thank you to Eric Forrest with this $4.99 super chat. Says, with all of our cap room next year, wouldn't Cohen be way more attractive to free agents than Bowles, especially if he brings in a top defensive coordinator?
It could be, yeah. I mean, it very well could be. The Bucs will have some cap room next year. And again, I think you look at why moves aren't being made. if it plays out where Todd Bowles ends up getting himself fired, he can't fix the defense, he doesn't turn it around, they have a losing season, miss the playoffs, whatever happens, you don't want to be Jason Light and say, well, we threw away a third or fourth round pick on a player that the new coach doesn't necessarily want or doesn't fit in his scheme. So you let the coach, whether it's Todd Bowles or whoever it is next year, use the draft picks in 2025 on the 2025 draft, not necessarily on players right now that are not going to come in and save the day, because this team is poorly coached, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I wrote about that in my SR's Fab 5. The game management issues continue to persist. A player here or there probably not going to make much of a difference the way things are headed right now defensively. I had a great time today right before kickoff, and we'll do it again before kickoff again. On the Autograph app, they have a new thing called Rooms there, and we can get a room and we can talk about the Bucs 30 minutes before kickoff. And you want to download the Autograph app. It's free to use and free to download. Just use the promo code Pewter to sign up. That'll let Autograph know that we sent you to them. And you can download it on the App Store for Apple and Google Play for Android. It's a place where you can read Pewter Report's news, watch our podcasts, and get rewarded for that. You earn points that you can cash in on tickets to games and merch. How cool is that? It's a great way to experience Pewter Report's content and get rewarded for it. So download Autograph, co-founded by Tom Brady, the Bucs Super Bowl winning quarterback. Also, I think won maybe a title or two for the Patriots, but his best win was the one in Tampa. So make sure you download Autograph. And we're going to be back tomorrow with the Fourth Lock podcast, where it's not going to be a victory podcast, but we are going to talk more about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and this upcoming game, which is quickly approaching on Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers, who for a change are coming to Tampa Bay, not the San Francisco Bay.
Yeah, it's been a little while since the 49ers came to Tampa. I believe the last time was 2019. We do have two more quick super chats to get to before we close out the show. Thank you to Mikey Moneybags for the $4.99 super chat. Says, give the defense credit. They made some stops that needed for the offense to have a chance. Bucs fought hard. Yes. Yeah, I mean, they gave a full effort. The defense had some moments, but it wasn't enough. And, when you had a chance to win, you had the momentum. You didn't go for two. And, there were several things that led to the loss, but, that one sticks out the most.
Yeah, I agree.
And Mopar Buck, thank you very much for this $19.99 chat. Says Bowles will be ridiculed all week for not going for two, and that explanation was even worse. Never heard the weather being a reason you go to overtime.
I know.
Again, they had just went 75 yards down the field in that weather, but all of a sudden, then it became too slippery. So
I'm with you, Mopar. Well said, my friend. Good job on the analysis there. Almost reminding me of like why they didn't try to win the game in Cleveland when they lost in overtime. Well, we didn't want Tom to throw an interception. Tom only threw in like 2 interceptions the whole year. The Browns only picked off 3 passes the whole year. Mathematically, that was not going to happen. So they just decided to. We wanted to get the game to overtime so we could lose. That's what the
there are some times where Todd Bowles is a really bad liar, and that was one of them. So that's going to do it for us on tonight's show. Appreciate all of you for joining us. It's almost 1 o'clock, and we have over 1,000 people watching on Twitter alone right now. So if you're not already doing so, please follow us on X, Facebook, and Instagram at Pewter Report, and our YouTube channel. Please subscribe to it. It's Pewter Report TV. So thanks a lot, everyone. Leave a comment as well, like and subscribe. Y'all are amazing. Sorry the Bucs aren't playing better, but we're going to talk about them tomorrow as well. So that'll do it for us. For Scott Reynolds, I'm Matt Matera saying thanks everybody for watching, and we'll see you soon for another edition of the Pewter Report podcast. Out.